Hello there, it's Josh from Racing to Profit. I hope you've had a good week. I am speaking to you at 2:15 on Friday afternoon, Friday the 8th of September. Um, One of you, good members, Matt, emailed in informing me that him and his friends are going for a fun and entertaining boozy afternoon to Stratford Racecourse, which is a very nice track. And he asked if I would have a flick through the card, which luckily for him, I've got a spare, well, not spare, but I've got 10 minutes I can fit it in, so I thought I would whiz through it. And due to time and various other things, this is what I would call proper live. As in normally, and sometimes when I record these short videos, I have a flick through the card beforehand. I'll get some kind of idea roughly where my thinking is. But I haven't done that at all with this. I haven't even looked. I couldn't tell you what's running, the quality of the racing, etc. The going, which I did just have a look at before pressing play on the BHA website, is currently good to firm in places. They had 1 mil overnight. There's forecast some heavy showers, and having checked BBC weather, here's one I made earlier, for Stratford. There looks to be some rain, as you can see, between 11 and 3-ish, and some of that could be heavy. So we are in that annoying position of not really knowing what the ground is. I do not think, I'm going to take a punt and say that it's not going to be good to firm. And one of the great many things with GG's Gold is you can change the going in line here, and that changes all of the stats that follow through all the race cards that follow in terms of the instant expert and everything else. So let's say there's no firm, let's say it's good, it's probably going to be good to soft, hopefully no worse, as that may lead to some non-runners, etc. Now normally also sometimes you've seen from my previous video, I would have some starting points normally from my stats. As I speak to you, I have yet to look at Saturday's runners and riders against my stats pack for section 1 of the members post, so I don't even have that as a starting point. So when you're kind of looking through a card like this, which you may do when you're going racing, well, that may be your approach day to day anyway, you do want starting points. Mine tend to come from what is in front of me on the GG's race card. So you've got trainer form is something that would normally stand out. So looking to see if there's any trainer in particular that is in red hot form. As you can see, Fergal O'Brien, decent, 12 runners in the last month, 3 have won, 6 in total have won or placed. Now the lack of 14s and 30s doesn't mean the rest are out of form, but it means that Fergal O'Brien's in particular are in very good form. And we will see some negative indicators, I should think, as we go through. Matt has introduced some little red symbols, which indicates that the trainers may not be doing so well, either recent form or form at the track. So that's that. Weighs in. So yeah, sorry, trainer form. Speed ratings can be good. We'll look at the instant expert tab and those that have previous winning form against race conditions, and which is fine for handicap chasers and making judgments about those less exposed. And there may still be more to come, but often at some of these race tracks and these race meetings you can find races that are full of exposed horses. So actually just following those runners that have proven ability and have ticked the boxes in terms of race conditions before can be decent. Here we've got the speed ratings, as I said, and pace, especially handicap chasers. You know that I like runners to be on the front end if possible, getting into a jumping rhythm. And if you can find lone front runners and handicap chasers that have, you think have the ability to stay there and handle race conditions, that can be a very good place to start as well. What else could I use? I could use some stats and reports, and saying that, I will just have a look. I have not looked at these as yet. So the other thing I should say, get your notepads out, because normally I would go through, well, sometimes I'd go through previously and steer you towards certain horses. This more is a kind of information, have a look through, make up your own mind and see if anything may stand out to you. So I want to have a look at tomorrow. This is the trainer snippets report that hopefully you can see, and there's very many different approaches you can take to this. I like just clicking on the win percentage. And here I am looking to see, so I'm just thinking as I'm going through this, where we're looking at in terms of some of these stats. I mean, you might use these to look at other races that are happening on Saturday because you've got them in front of you. So take note of that one. I won't talk through them all. Not bad. Where are we? Leopardstown. I don't want that. I'm just trying to look at the track, obviously. Amy Murphy. Here we go. So race code. This is just with all of her chases, I think. So that's something to note. 155. Mercy and King. That's not a bad record, and she's the trainer of one of my flat horses. And now I have a share in a exciting juvenile hurdler with Amy Murphy as well, which I will talk about more next week and see if any of you are interested in that opportunity. But that's more on that at the future date. So yes, we've got that. I think that's Amy Murphy. There is an Annabelle Murphy, but I think Amy Murphy is Amy, I hope. What else have we got? I'm just trying to look and see what could be jumps. So they're decent. Last time out winner stats as well. These are all going to be flat horses, flat races somewhere. Newland. That's Stratford. So those top level stats. So this is looking at jump speeds. This is going to be kind of 16 furlongs or so. They are generally over bet against market expectations, but perform well with the IV in terms of their performance against chance. And that's a solid 26% win strike rate and 47% win or place with those. So that's the 340 to keep an eye on. K. Dulin. And Dickie Johnson looks like he's been booked. And now we're kind of looking at getting into 25% or so. That's Jeremy Scott with a flat runner. Who else have we got here? I won't go below 20%. I'm just having a look. Stratford, the Black Squirrel, Great Tricks, National Hunt Flat might be of interest, although he has had a few goes already. But we'll have a look at that when we get to the race. What else? I know I'm about 5 minutes in already, aren't I? Let me check the time. No, 7 minutes. There we go. We will see how quickly we fly through this. Mr. Richard is it Richard Hobson? Jumps, middle distances, what's that? That's kind of 2 mile 4 around there. Decent record, that'll be with certain horses, no doubt. Surf and Turf, that's a 305. As I'm looking at that, obviously his age has caught my eye, the fact he's 11. But those stats there, Hobson can clearly train this type of chaser. Some of those stats, no doubt, maybe for Surf and Turf himself. What else have we got? I think that might be it. I don't want to go below 20%. A lot of these look like flat trainers, various different places. Murphy again with jump speed. So yeah, some good stats there. And as I am speaking to you at the moment, there are not any. Well, the market's not up, so I don't know the odds. So I might be looking at horses that are too short, that might have no chance at all. Here I'm looking at trainer change. These are trainers who have switched horses that have switched yards. So that might be of interest. So this will be his first run for Phil Kirby. In the last year, he's 2 from 16, 4 places with such runners. But quarter placing's interesting. I mean, it's not, they're not brilliant stats. But again, that we're looking here at ways in. So as I've talked about trainer stats before, and using section 1 in my members club, of course, there are many different ways, like I touched on with the race card, but this is another way, using such stats reports or similar such things that you might find, well, similar but not as good as you might find in the Racing Post or at the races or whatever you use. O'Meara, I mean, this won't be a Stratford, but for those of you who might want to have a look anyway, might just want to note down those decent and solid stats. And 100, blimey, profit loss to £1. That would include a massive price winner, no doubt, but they're still chugging along well, so note that horse down. I mean, that's interesting in the sense that Kirby, he has done well. His 2 winners have been in the last year. Against his 2-year record wasn't that great, and therefore that could show an improvement or change in methods. This might be a reason to ignore Triggy Winkle, the fact that Laura Young is 10 runners from different yards and no places. And well, Amira's still there. Well, then Kirby in the last 5 years, that's okay. So he can improve them. And is it Laura Young? I think 0.25 one place. So he'd kind of put a line through Triggy Winkle, I think, based on that. What else have we got? Any first time in a handicap, which is a great way in. I'm still drinking coffee at 20 past 2 on a Friday afternoon. Haven't started shaking yet, that's why. Haven't reached the limit. What are we looking at here? So we've got 1 year form in terms of for trainers, runners, and first in a handicap. There's not too much there. John Davies, interesting. You can note that down. I mean, he's only had 2 runners in the last year. 1 has won, 2 have placed, making handicap debut. That's in the, well, as I speak, that's the 4:35 at Newcastle today, because I have not looked at tomorrow. So let's click tomorrow's stat, which would be useful. As we are looking at Saturday. Again, here you can see some decent trainer figures, at least, in terms of a handicap debut of certain trainers there. Bin Saror, Wolverhampton, you can note that one down. Sir Michael Stout, Wolverhampton, you may wish to note that one down, although he probably won't be much of a price. Roger Varian at Kempton. You can pause this video, of course, and just kind of glare at those things while you make a note. Sir Mark Prescott. There's none here, I don't think, on the old jumps, and those stats are going down here. And I could also look at course, which is what I want to do. So Syed bin Saror, I've touched on this stat before at Wolverhampton. That will probably go off rather short, given he won last time out. And there is nothing at Stratford, so we can leave that. We've done trainer change. I was just trying to think if I clicked the tomorrow stat with trainer change. Yes, I did. Trainer jockey combo, that could be another way in. What are we doing for time? 12 minutes and I haven't even started flicking through the card. But you know, you might find this useful. What I want to look at is course. And I do just want to look at handicaps. So you can see me clicking that box there. I've got course form, I've got handicaps. I'm just going to click the win percentage, so I can go down, and I'm not going to focus on any of these bar Stratford unless I can see anything jumping out at me. Not much there at all. We're still on today. That would be useful. Have another coffee, Josh. Tomorrow, I'm looking at Saturday. I'll get that in my head at some point. So yes, handicaps. The last 5 years, trainer and jockey combo. So again, this could be a decent way in. Richard Hughes and Cummings at Kempton, believe it, 16-1, 4 from 5. Interesting. Paula Muir at Thirsk with Fairhurst, but that horse isn't coming up. That might not be a handicap. Stratford. That's what I'm after. Anything for Stratford is a way in. No. Not that goes below 20%. Oh yes, and I have 20% set up, so I'm not. So there's nothing there for Stratford for handicap trainer jockey combo, and I can just look at trainer stats, which I will do tomorrow. I want handicaps, a win percentage. I want a minimum of 20. Handicaps, 5 years, update. So you can set your little settings up here. If I put highest first, here we go. So Ollie Murphy, that looks like if the horse isn't appearing, that's likely to be because that's a non-handicap. But that's worth noting. Murphy. So I'm just writing this on my notepad in case I remember to refer to it in a bit. Lacey's only 1 from 2. No, that's no good either. There we go. So we've got Kirby, last 5 years. Well, he's only sent 5 handicappers here. 2 have won, 3 have placed. We've already got that note from Minstrel Royale in terms of that trainer change angle. So that horse is starting to look possibly interesting, and maybe an interesting. He's probably going to be a decent price. He might be a little horse worth a tickle. So that's that. What else have we got? Anything else? Tom George, Stratford. 9 from 34, 16 places, so that interests me. Always on the run in the 305. So this has clearly attracted the targets quite well with his handicappers over the last 5 years. Mr. King, Neil King again. He has a good record here. He will probably come up in my stats pack. I think he's in there, but I can't quite remember. This is 5 years, these ones, remember, so you've got that and the 340. So that's interesting. You might want to note those down. And that's it for those with 20%. So that's given you a few starting points. I will leave that there for those. So yes, like I said, there might be ways in. You have those list of horses. You go through. You could take a view on one card and really get stuck in, create your own list of horses of interest based on those stats and those different things I've just looked at, and then you can start flicking through the card. That is 15 minutes to note down myself, so I can guide you in the right directions. That's 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes looking at stats and various different things. Now let's try and flick through and fly through this card. I'm looking at trainers in form that you may want to note down, instant expert, and the pace and the speed ratings. And I'll try and whiz through these pretty quick. If I have the win tab here, hopefully you can see that to the left hand side there. Here I am looking at horses which are suitable to race conditions. Green is generally very good, amber's okay. You've got the rating down the right hand side, so a plus number is good. That means their handicap rating is below their last winning rating. So if you take Owen the View, last one off 125 races off 117 today, so it's £8 lower than his last win. You can see those are a bit higher than may have to do something different, such as number 10, access all areas. Down here is £7 above his last winning mark. There is nothing jumping out too much. Dealing River ticks all the boxes you can see there and looks solid against race conditions. There's a handicap mark question. Owen the View, we know that Fergal O'Brien is in form, and he looks okay, and we know he's well handicapped. You've got the Yank, well handicapped and hitting a few boxes there, so some kind of things emerging. Now, if this does go good to soft, we can change the going within the race card here and have a look, and nothing's got any form on good to soft. What about good to soft to soft? So here suddenly, if the rain does come, you may want to have a look at Mercy and King, who is 1 from 6 wins and 3 from 6 places. Class 4, the places is solid. So if the rain does come in the 155, you're looking at Mercy and King, and Exitas look pretty solid on the each way kind of place element. Triggy Winkle, we know I'm a bit put off by that, the trainer stats, whatever they were before for the trainer. So yeah, good to soft. Dealing River, while he looked good if it stays good, if the rain starts to come, you'd have a bit of a doubt, you'd have a bit of a question, as you would with Owen the View. So this is where interchangeable weather is annoying, but it's also an opportunity when you have access to brilliant race tools like GG's Gold. Mercy and King looks interesting. So I've got those kind of in my head. Now if we have a look at Owen the View, who is a 9-year-old, the trainer's in form. He's not really doing much different. He is, well, I say that, he's dropping into a class 4. Lily Pinchin is a decent jockey. Many of you will have seen her exploits on Creevy Tennant up at Perth. That grand old servant, age 13, bouncing out in front and making all a couple of times this year. So that's interesting. Takes a lot of weight off, has dropped £5 pretty quick, has dropped £10 pretty quick, and drops in class here, and the trainer's arguably in better form than he was. Cheek pieces also replaced blinkers. So there are a few things there of interest. Dealing River's a 10-year-old, okay, and we know if the ground turns, they are going to have some rain. There's question marks there. He's not going to be doing too much different as a 10-year-old. This Mercy and King I'm interested in mainly because of his age. We've already got those trainer stats that we've looked at. He'll track the leaders. Whether or not he handles soft, we know he does. So he looks interesting. I think he probably is on a career high mark. But as you can see there, he's only had 8 chase runs. He's only 8 handicap chase runs. He won off 104. He's won off 108. I wouldn't say he's necessarily handicapped up to the hilt, but he is going to have to improve again. But he is a young, fairly lightly raced, unexposed chaser who turns up here in form. And I should think he probably will be a short price. What else are we looking at? That was pretty much it, I think. Accessible areas was 12. Exitas is interesting. Returns 4 days after racing at Hexham. That's quite a short turnaround for a handicap chaser age 9. But he may have a good record when returning within 10 days. Well, he's raced twice, over hurdles and won once when returning within 10 days of his last start, so that's not a negative. And we saw from those views. So from that quick look, my eyes are drawn to a short list of Owen the View, but you don't think he'd want much rain. Mercy and King looks solid, and Exitas, as we've seen on that each way. On his place stats, if we have a look at the speed ratings, Owen the View's near the bottom. Mercy and King again might be of some interest, but those are probably the three I'd have my eye on that quick glance. I would normally, I wouldn't normally bet in a race like this unless I had the stats that I was following. But you've seen those, so that's that. In terms of seeing what I'm looking at, and now if we finally look at pace, you've got the Yank and Access All Areas will take them on. I don't really like hold-up horses around here or in any chase, so Exitas always is running for luck because he needs them to fall into a hole a bit in the front end, and is liable to make mistakes as he has to chase leaders that may not be coming back to him. Mercy and King races prominently, so does Owen the View. So those two will be up there, kind of following the front two or three, and they'll be in the right place if good enough. And Exitas, they might go a bit too quick, but pace is a different thought process than flat racing, where they can go in a hole. There's only a certain safe speed you can go jumping, and that's something I kind of learned a bit more last winter season. You can only go so quick, especially over fences. While some horses may do too much on the front end because they're exceptional jumpers, they'll generally, although they may go quick on the front end, you can't go overly quick or do overly too much as a jockey and force them, because obviously you have fences to jump and there's only a safe speed you can jump them at. So it is rare, I think, for horses to fall in a hole because they've gone too quick. The Yank and Access All Areas may fall in the hole simply because they're not good enough, or they're too old, or they're handicapped up to the hilt, or whatever. So I may not have mentioned the winner, but use your notepads, put the brains in gear, and hopefully you've spotted there something which may help you find the winner. Now we get onto a conditional jockey selling handicap hurdle. Oh, I should think the Skelton horse will be short here. You can see that he's in form. This is not a race I would bet on at all if you were sat at home on the couch enjoying a nice cask ale while watching something win, hopefully, for your Saturday afternoon punting. We've got Minstrel Royale, had 111 days off. This is the horse I'm drawn to. 60 days stats are all right. New trainer's okay. It's a bit poor. He might be a bit of a price, and he's top on the speed rating. So if I was at the track, I would probably have a go. That past form may be irrelevant because he's running here or after a break, and well, it said that was a trainer change, and it is a trainer change. Sorry, it just hadn't come up. There's normally a little symbol, sorry, there within the race card. For whatever reason, that hasn't appeared as yet. Yeah, was formerly trained by Nicky Henderson and had some form. He did win a Class 4 handicap hurdle, so it's not beyond means. He's had 111 days off. Does Kirby target this track with horses that have had a bit of a break? Handicap hurdles, so I can just open him up. I can have a look. They're okay stats. He has yet to run a horse here in handicap hurdles coming after a break. I can look at class. See, that's okay. What are we? Class 5. Handicap hurdles, 60 or more days off the track, 5 from 30, a third of one or place, so that's decent enough. We saw those trainer change stats with him, which were okay, especially the last 2 years. So he might be a price. If I was at the track, given that speed rating as well, hopefully get a little price. I'd have a little tickle on Minstrel Royale there for the reasons stated. The Skelton horse probably might be short price. simply because of the trainer form angle. He might be a bit of a monkey, but he is unexposed at least by the looks of things. Instant expert, does anything jump out? Well, Astrum on that would jump out. He ticks quite a few boxes. What if it goes good to soft and soft? Again, not too much there. Yeah, Astrum. So Minstrel Astrum as an each way bet. If it's an each way price, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 7 runners, so go hard or go home. Just put a bit on the nose. Astrum's looking all right there, as you can see there. The place stats against going class, course, distance, field size. So that's an interesting one. Again, he ran 4 days ago, and he arrives at least in form, which is more than can be said about some of these runners. So I would be looking at, I should think the Skelton horse might be a silly price just because he's overbet. So Astrum and Minstrel Royale, they'll do. Let's try and skip through these because I've been going 25 minutes and I definitely want to be done pretty soon. Gold Cup Handicap Chase Class 3. Again, note anything. We've got Always on the Run that you noted from the trainer stats, and he is top rated on the speed ratings. Let's have a look at Instant Expert. Now I've got the place tab up here. That would indicate to you that this is a very, very competitive race. Horses that have won or placed consistently against race conditions, and therefore if you weren't going racing or you didn't have a stats or a system that you were following, I would probably say that is a race to avoid because it is just competitive. And ideally you want to cross out a couple of, well, you want to leave yourself with a kind of 1 or 2 or 3 you want to look at. Shady Glen may be of interest, but £10 above his last winning mark. Play of the Ace looks like he has a class question. Yeah, he has a class question. I'm just there. I'm looking at class 2 to 3 just to see. You can see there he might be 0 from 3 in class 3, but there's a chance he may actually 1 in class 2, for example. Always on the Run. Still, he does all right here. That's just in terms of the class stats there. He's going to be where I like all handicap chasers to be, and that is leading. And he might have to fight with Vikal, or however you say that, whatever, horse number 4. Can't read. So that's that. I'd be kind of looking at Always on the Run and Vikal for Mr. Fluke, just because they'll be both up there, and actually if they can go a pace and not do too much. We've seen Mercer's Court in terms of the trainer stats. So I might be kind of looking at those, but he's had 124 days off. Maybe he's been aimed at this, who knows. He has a stamina question, I think. Well, he's yet to win over the distance anyway. Always on the Run has been a tricky horse. I think this might be his perfect trip, actually. He was just outstayed the last day. He kept going, but he's a bit of a tricky bugger, but he's got £3 off here. The hood's on. He's had a bit of a break, which may have helped him. I'm just trying to read these. Yeah, we'll see. He might be up there. We'll see what he can do. I mean, he's ran well here before, but he is a bit of a monkey. So that's not a race I'm overly enthusiastic about getting involved in. We've got Surf and Turf from the Richard Hobson race type, distance range stats there, but he's 11. So that's a tricky race. Like I said, it's quite competitive. You can give quite a few chances to most, and a lot of these are turning up here in form. So do with that as you please. I'd probably pick something at an okay price. Paddy Brennan rides, Shady Glen. So there's questions there. Like I said, I'm going to go into loads of detail. You can see the different stats and things in front of your eyes and make a case. If I was at the track, if Always on the Run was an okay price, I would probably have a go, and the trainer's in form. If he wants him fit, he'll be fit. I would, because of the speed rating and his pace, I would think he might be up there. This one has the Steve Fluke horse has run well, and he's in form, and he'll be up there as well. So that might be because of connections as well. He might go off a bigger price than he should be, maybe. So yeah, we'll see. That looks tricky. I'd say kind of Always on the Run, but he's been a bit disappointing. No trainers in here are jumping out in form, but he is at least young enough. He's got a bit of weight off his back. and he might be interesting, and he'll definitely be fit. Whether or not Mercer's Court is a question. Let's just have a look at 60 days handicap chases for the trainer. They're solid enough, or not a reason necessarily to be put off. At the track, he hasn't run any. So there's a few thoughts there. That looks a tricky race. Yeah, I'll leave that there because I am on 30 minutes. Brilliant. You can't rush these things. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I kind of go horse first. And if you watch my previous video, because going through a whole card like this, if you don't have a specialism or a liking for a certain race type, as I've said to you before, 3 mile plus, class 4 and higher handicap chases are the only types of races I like looking at cold. Many reasons. One of them, well, there are many reasons, but you get to know the group of horses as well, and you can picture their races and picture them before you even kind of delve into them. So unless you have a starting point and a way in, it can be pretty tricky to go through a whole card. Let's just look at the instant expert here. Again, this looks tricky. Court Minstrel's a classy horse. Dear Sire ticks all the boxes there. Let's have a look at pace. Is there anything that could get away on the front end? Comanche Chieftain, I think I did a video for the last meeting here and mentioned him, and he could make all again. He could be up there and get an easy lead, although Dear Sire and Rossetti might also be pushing him. There are no trainers jumping out in form. Let's look at the speed ratings. Dear Sire is a good one, 149, and Comanche Chieftain. St Saviour's a bit of a monkey, and I'm sure this class 2 level is probably above him. Famous last words. We've got the Newland horse that I saw before. Court Minstrel's getting on a bit. I'd kind of look at the two young, unexposed ones in form, Dear Sire and Comanche Chief, and they might not be much for price. They're going to be up there. They're going to be in the right place in terms of pace, and they've got decent speed ratings. I'm just going to fly through these. Oh, a novice hurdle. Good. At least that means we can be quick. Mr. Universum has a penalty. The trainer is in form. The jockey takes off 7, which may alleviate most of that penalty. Oh, he had a penalty last time, so yeah. I mean, £7 off, so that helps. He's clearly, we're talking about weak summer jumping here. If I look at the speed ratings of those that have ran before, you can clearly see that Mr. Universum is got quite a high rating. He's probably going to be a short price. I probably wouldn't look past him. I'd probably go to the bar and have a drink. I'm just trying to look to see if any of these have good records of horses first time out, but that's not really telling me much. Any decent stats? I mean, this is a pretty weak race, isn't it? I probably wouldn't bet in it. I'd spend the money on a pint. If you had to have a bet or put a horse in your place pot, then the Dan Skelton horse looks the one to be on. Let's skip merrily onto a novice's chase, which you shouldn't really be betting in unless you're going to the racetrack. And this is a horrible one, and it's pretty hard to tell. Capstat, interesting. Weston Miller, looking interesting. So on those stats, I'd kind of say those two. Are there any here that are young age? Well, Capstat is age 7. Who knows if he can jump a fence? Is this his first go over fences? Yes, it is. So that's why you don't really play in these races, because who knows if he can jump or how good his jumping will be. And the same with the Tim Vaughan horse. These Capstats fit. Dan Skelton's got one in here again. Again, he's been running over hurdles for an age. This is his first run over fences. Who knows? So again, this is another race where if I wasn't at the racetrack, I definitely wouldn't be touching it. There's no need. There's many other better races you can attack. At least Riley's Minor has some form over fences, but he hasn't done much at all. What else can we say? Pace. Now, pace is interesting. Now, most of these paces will be based on these horses' recent runs, obviously, and for most of them, they are not over fences at all. So that means they may not lead, because the trainers will not want to gun a horse to the front who is an inexperienced chaser. Weston Miller has been hurdling plenty of times. Johnny Burke will want to educate the horse how to jump. And if you've been front running, bombing a horse out front over fences sometimes isn't the wisest advice. Now, Riley's Minor has, and he's got Richard Johnson on, and he at least has experience, and this is a novice chase, so he might put that to good use. Now, he might be an interesting price here. He gets a visor for the second time. I mean, he does look horrendously out of form. He has some ability somewhere, but the fact that Johnson will be aggressive on him, and at least he has experience of fences, that might put him in good stead. Now, there's probably something better here that may also take to jumping straight away and might beat him, but that's a way in. That's an idea. Now we've got a National Hunt flat race. Oh, joy, joy of joys. First start, Phil York's only had, I think it's Phil York, no idea. It might be Peter, I think it's Phil. Only 2 runs in the last 2 years of horses having their first start, so not much to go on there. Again, this is a shocker. Fergal O'Brien, Paddy Brennan always catch the eye. I'm not quite sure what's happened with some of the in-running stats in here. Maybe I need to refresh. Hold on. Wait for the thing to well, yeah, I'm not sure what's happening there, but Fergal O'Brien in National Hunt races does all right, especially with Paddy Brennan, so that would be interesting. Again, this isn't a race should be overly keen to get involved with. Dragoning having a rare National Hunt runner. He's only had, well, that one was his first before, I should think, in the last 2 years, and he placed, as you can see. So that may be interesting. If I was at the track, I'd probably go to the paddock. I'd probably have a look. I'd probably see what horses really stand out in their coat and are kind of looking lively. There's a few here that might need the run. There's a few here that have had a few goes and as yet haven't done anything. Evan Williams, second start, 8 from 54, only a 14%, 15%. That's all right. So Norm the Storm might come on for that first run and might do okay. So that's an interesting one. He's fit, he's unexposed. And Shines Bar, I mean, as can happen in National Hunt flat races, the market can guide. I should think Lady Vesta will be a short price because she came second on debut, probably in a weak race. 4 horses have ran since and none have done anything, as an example. Cheek pieces are on for the second time. That's not a great sign. The fact she was wearing them for the first time, and that's a weak summer race. I'd probably want to be with some famous last words National Hunt trainers here. The Black Squirrel has had enough, well, had 2 goes, been running okay. That consistency might see her do well. Again, this isn't a race that I wouldn't be betting in this unless I was at the track, and even then I might want to keep propping up the bar. So that'll do. Hopefully you've spotted something there. I'm not going to go on about that anymore. Given I've exhausted a lot of Gigi's gold here, you can take a 30-day trial for £1. Yes, you can. It may be the best thing that's ever happened to you. By pressing the link below this video, so you can do that if you want. But anyway, I hope you found that of some use. Good luck with any of your bets on Saturday. And yeah, until the next time, this is me saying bye for now. Have a great weekend. Bye.